basket and the red flag slowly descended from the sky down into the ground, a big hole where there were the construction workers. And there was a lot of clang and clatter and all the things you might expect from such an activity. And so this little video I edited together, and it became set it right next to the window where you would look out.
Wow.
And that sound then pervades the space as well. Would have
beautiful.
Arrived later. So that's an ever-present part of the work. And the red flags, I could have put the 93 on those flags, but I thought in the end, just the plain red flags did it for me. Yeah, and it's nice to see you again, like in another situation. And having looked at Erica's podcast, that was really interesting. Yeah, I really liked it.
The technical issues we had with it.
Yeah. I'm in Leichhardt, which is actually Gadigal land on the Eora Nation, so it's right under a flight path.
And welcome back to Beyond Survival, a place where we're talking to artists and thinkers, philosophers, intentional souls, and people who work more in the space of what we call slow culture. I'm Geraldine, your host, Kelli, my co-host.
Hi, everyone.
Gizmo in the back.
He's sleeping already. He's had enough already today.
Our Superhost, Stephanie Davis, our producer in the background. And it's with a big welcome to our guest today, Sue Callanan, who's a visual artist, sculptor, installation artist. And
from Sydney.
welcome, Sue, who is from her studio.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here with you all across the miles.
Yes. And it's been a while since you and I connect. I feel like we should let everyone know that we do know each other. Last week we talked about everybody with Erica, who is also another Nine Dragons Head artist, and that's how we know her. And same with Sue. We know Sue through Nine Dragons Head, and Sue was one of the Australian artists that was invited to the Venice Biennale 24, that you started out in your work life as a social worker, and you did some teaching as well.
And that followed on from teaching in community welfare for many years, actually.
Yeah. So let's start. When you left high school, what made you make that decision to become a social worker? And at the time, were you also doing art at high school? Were you engaged with art?
Not at all was I engaged with art. We had very little opportunity. I probably did 1 year of art in high school, which was the very first year. And that was tinkering, and I loved that. But no, nothing. And so it wasn't seen as a viable option of any kind to pursue. And I think leaving school, I thought I was going to but I was steered well away from that because, you know, women don't deal with large animals. And I want the small ones. So I think they told me, well, I'd be good at, what was it, secretarial, because I'm fairly accurate but a bit slow. So anyway, I didn't pursue that path. But I think at those days there were fairly limited options for women. Women were teachers. I don't know why social work came into my mind. My father was very community-minded, so he was always in projects, different organisations within the community. So whether that was part of it, I think the other part of it, I have to admit, is not just helping people, but a curiosity about other people's lives, other people who live very different lives from the way I've lived. I think the lure for me.
And what about your parents? What did your father and mother do? Was there any influence there creatively at all? Or?
Not so much with my father, because he was a chemist and he was always busy. My mother was different. She was, a housewife mother, extremely, I think had a bit of an artistic bent that was never pursued. It wasn't seen as an option either. And she would actively encourage her 3 children to pursue things where their hearts were going. So, she would, it was very positive.
Yeah. And unique for that time, I imagine. Yeah, even that's just a really positive start. You've got your mum who was creative but maybe didn't live into it, but she probably was around the home.
She would have much preferred that I did advertising rather than dealing with people's problems. So why do you want to be immersed in that? But anyway, that was just her thought, and she never got in our way, really. So
yeah,
I just did that. And it was terribly interesting. I really enjoyed the course and learned so much about people and organisations and working with groups, and it was expanding one's view of the world in a big way.
I think good preparation to be an artist as well. Yeah. Because you're looking from an observation still. You're in that role, I imagine that you're observing everything that's going on around you and observing each individual and their stories.
Yeah.
And isn't that what we do a little bit as artists?
I think so, yes. It's what comes up in front of you that you're really not expecting. And these were unusual situations, working in a psychiatric hospital where people had been, in my first job at least, where people had been there for an average of 15 years. Well, you can imagine what that might look like. And and it's not what I was anticipating it would be. I wanted to do something more grand. Well, we set up a halfway house in the with encouragement for the psychiatrist in this, what they called a rehabilitation ward, which is, rehabilitate. So I set up a halfway house with his support in the grounds of the hospital, and so for people study in England, so we went over there before a lot of that. I got to see that, but certainly the halfway house happened, and it was kind of such an eye-opener. And people were so institutionalised because many of them had come in at the time before there were psychotropic drugs, so they had just been there for years, 15 years on average, sometimes 30 years, and it was quite shocking when I'd go out shopping with one of the residents and she said, people are looking at me. And I thought, she's a little bit paranoid. But in fact, people were probably looking at her because she looked kind of
different.
Yes. There was one man, he ended up in a psychotic state. He was burning the curtains in his boarding house. And I realised, let's realise that this psychotic episode was triggered by the fact that his social security had stopped. And I thought, well, let's just hear together and I'll tell you what to do. And I realised he couldn't get past base. He was just totally flummoxed, even though I told him what the next step was. So it's big learnings when you sit next to somebody and try and work out what's actually going on for them. Really.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard road for all concerned, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
You talked about you felt a lack of creativity in your life, and that was the springboard for doing some art. But what was the transition for you like?
I'd always been interested in crafty things. There just came a point in time, probably when I was around 30. I did a couple of different short courses, and that got me interested. And they weren't just teach you how to paint. They were things that had a stimulus. They're a bit more abstract, One might be in a drawing class, the circular saw. I thought, So it kind of opened things out for how you might see something or broaden your view. So that was
nice that you got into classes straight away that were more conceptually minded than just hobby sort of art or decor art, do you feel?
Yeah. Yes. I'd kind of wanted... Yes, that's right. And that's what I was more interested... I started to get more interested in that. Awesome. And then I met somebody who... I could see she'd done these beautiful ceramics, and I thought, and that she had this whole other life and this house in the bush with all these beautiful things around her. And it was just, this is an interesting other life.
It sounded like it opened up your world.
It opened up my world to another possibility. And also at that point I thought, I need something more, something to go deeper, so that beyond the hobby thing. And I She'd been to Sydney College of the Arts.
And where was that? Sorry?
At
Where were
Sydney
you studying?
College, but then the college amalgamated, became part of Sydney University quite
Right.
some years later. So then our degrees were re-recognised as part of a Sydney University degree. So I think the original art college, it stemmed out of the Whitlam era, where he was really supporting community art projects and new courses. Things were flourishing in the arts at that time, thanks to his...
Until we were just thinking this year was 50 years.
Oh, gosh.
Last
That
year,
he
yeah.
got sacked. What did he say? Save the Queen, because no one's going to save the Governor General.
Famous words.
One of those ones that you just quite never forget.
Right. Yeah.
And did you major in sculpture in that, or you didn't have
I
to?
did. It was a fantastic course because you have an orientation for the first 6 months where it's not channeling you into any one subject, but presenting you with ways of opening up your thinking, really conceptualising things. So you're given projects. One might be on chance, one might be on a book or making a book, and then from there, so that was the challenging time, honestly. I thought, by this stage I'd done a dip ed in teaching as well. And I thought, I've had a reasonable education, but I cannot understand what they're saying. It just didn't quite make sense to me. Mm-hmm. And I realised there was some step that was a conceptual leap. It's how much our formal education is quite a linear thing, and how much I way of this than that. And this was very different. It was all simultaneous, you know.
Right.
And you threw me off the deep end, and then you're struggling to try and find your feet. The sculpture offered you the horizon. You could choose to do within sculpture video, sound, performance. It really, and the sculptural installations. So it was, I think I just gravitated towards it. That was an opportunity where you could learn a whole lot of skills.
I chose sculpture for all the reasons that you just mentioned. That I felt like it covered across the board, that you could pretty much use whatever medium is necessary for what it is that you want to try and say. So, yeah, when I went into the sculpture classes, I was like, what?
You're really engaged.
Yeah, it really got my head going. Sculpture.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. In general, one of the things when we went to art school was that the idea that once you have an idea or a plan for what you'd like to do, then you find the materials that are going to best work with that idea. However, I tend to collect certain things. My studio doesn't have nice objects in it. It has a library of materials.
Wonderful.
I will often use materials that are space already.
I think that kind of explains why you were attracted, like we were too, to Nine Dragons Head concept and philosophy.
Yeah.
Because it was often turn up with an empty backpack and see what you can find around you. That was definitely our first experience.
Yeah.
I do come across Nine Dragon
Yeah.
Heads because I know
I
Kelly's
don't know the story.
but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I had two friends that were involved already. One was Suzanne Bartos and the other one was Juliet Fowler-Smith.
Oh, gosh, okay.
Yeah, and
We met her in 2003 or 4, I think it was.
I first went over maybe in 2010.
Oh, gosh, okay.
So, and Suzanne was the trigger for me to get introduced to the park and then get invited. And that was really fascinating and interesting. And with the idea of all these people coming in from all different countries.
All over the world. Yeah, it was wonderful, wasn't it?
Yeah, wonderful. And then having an exhibition in a space, so you get to think about that environment in advance through art concepts. And
Did they do indoor, outdoor exhibition in the year that you went?
I went again, this time with Juliet, and in that instance we one of the places where we worked was on some mud flats, near tidal mudflats, and that was really interesting. So that was, we stayed in what was the next youth detention centre, so it was a big, had capacity for incorporating all of us. And then we'd go out by day and navigate this outdoor environment. And so we did, yes, there have been opportunities, and always there's, on the 2 occasions, there've been, 3 now, there's been the opportunity for what they call room-to-room shows. So it'll be something that is much more improvised and spontaneous. So you might have a day or so to think about what it is that you might do, and then you'd go around to each other's rooms or to sites nearby where you've chosen to undertake. Well, I don't know if you can call it a work always, but some gestural art gesture, which is fun.
Yeah, like a little footprint to get everybody
Yes.
thinking. Yeah, no, that's what I liked about them. My preference is always like group shows or collaborative kind of projects. I often wonder, I think, maybe I should go into film, but then I am doing film anyway, so incorporating this.
It's telling me my internet.
Oh, it was the internet that went down, was it?
I think so. It said your internet connection is unstable, which is annoying. Nearest thing, is that going to interrupt everything? Yes.
No, not at all.
No.
I'll go and check.
All good. We got time as well. We have, anyway.
I think the router is actually downstairs, so I'll have to. Do you want to have a little look on the way down?
Yeah. Take us for a tour around the
journey. At the moment, they're having a show called Earth, and so it's a general call out to, would be for me, but many new ones that haven't fully taken it. Downstairs. I'll take my phone.
Right. So what are we looking at here? Are you saying when you were talking about the studio, are you in there with other artists?
Yes. So there are 5 studios.
And are you there every day?
No, sometimes I work from home because I can do other messy stuff or smelly stuff or paint or spray outside, use latex outside.
But nice to have that.
Oh,
is
it's
the studio
wonderful.
Connected to Articulate?
Sorry?
Is the studio connected to Articulate or totally separate?
Yes. So all the studios are upstairs, and then downstairs.
And the gallery's downstairs.
Can you see? Can you see the space?
I can.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I mean, obviously, I've seen. So this is the Articulate Gallery, right?
Well, we're calling it a project space because when we were looking, there were a group of, I can't remember, maybe 8 people looking for studios, and one of them eventually said, oh, well, actually, I don't want a studio. I just want somewhere where I can put up projects and look and think and test things out. And so
what a great idea.
when we eventually came across a space that would work, we thought, let's have a project space. So the idea of the project space, which was to encourage spatial practices, was to allow people to spend time, as much time as they wanted in that space, and 24 hours if they wanted it. And then, you might have, so you didn't have to have a show to finish that. Mostly people wanted to at the end, but the idea was you could invite people in and have conversations. So,
wonderful.
So
I was just going to say, it really gives the artists the ability to test their ideas out in real time and space. I think that's great.
And because we that were starting it off had spatial practices, we realised that, the space is, when you make a work within the space, it tends to marry with the space. It works more synergistically with the space.
100%.
You're not just introducing an object. These are pretty amazing. I don't know if you can see them. Sorry, am I just showing you a ceiling? I don't know what you can see.
A little bit. You need to go down a little bit.
I need to go down more, sorry.
That's all right.
So these look very interesting. Talking about edible dirt, eat dirt. So this is Earth Week, and here if I turn around, this is a work by Rox DeLuca, who does...
Are they stuffed frogs?
No, they're bits of plastic that she gleaned from the beach. Her practice is very much about gleaning things from the beach and then drilling and assembling them.
So more about sustainability, maybe?
Well, and the state of the environment, and it's certainly pointing to that. Yeah.
What's the name of the artist?
Rox DeLuca.
Good work, Rox DeLuca.
Yeah, nice work. You can see up close. Can you see up close? It's hard for me to see what you're seeing, actually.
Yeah.
You'll have to send us some photos.
Yes.
It's good to have the footage because it's fun.
It's because this is closer to the router, I should possibly stay here.
Oh, yeah, that's very clear.
Have you got somewhere you can sit?
I can stand.
Oh, you don't want to stand the whole time, Sue. That's crazy.
I don't want to stand.
No, you don't want to stand the whole time.
No.
No.
Are we on? Is that... Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
We are. Happy to stand at this point in time. Go.
There you go. That's better.
I'll step in the way of the light.
So let's talk a little bit about Here Now.
The exhibition in Melbourne. And congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank you. It was such a big undertaking. I think because I had a lot of different pieces. I got the idea very quickly. It was boom, boom, boom when I was invited. And then it's a long way sometimes between the idea and the realisation of the idea. Yeah. And so it was definitely a case of that,
But you've been well trained for that, Sue.
What's that?
You've been well trained for that.
Oh, gosh. That's where the patience and persistence comes.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I was asked if I'd like to do a work there, and I could have done it with another artist if I'd wanted to. She's got an installation. She's an installation artist, but she's got an architectural background as well. And then in the end, I thought, well, maybe I just want to have this whole space and really treat the whole space because, I enjoy collaborations, but then you are dealing with divergent ideas, and I really wanted to claim this space. And
you certainly did that.
Yeah, I feel so happy with that.
Yeah.
I've been to the space before a couple of times, and it's in a beautiful old deco building, totally right opposite the Cathedral in Melbourne, and just lovely. It's as it was. If you walk up, it's got this cage lift and beautiful lace patterned, and
wonderful.
And also these corridors with these dark doors open. They're all little businesses and creative spaces. And the thing that I loved inside the gallery, which was a trigger point really, they've got these big deep beams that are about 50 centimetres deep and with these pencil rolled edges.
Oh, lovely.
And it's very intriguing. It does something else to a space, when you've got rounded edges rather than these hard square edges, which you would normally find in a building.
Yeah. That's what is a good space, isn't it?
Yeah, so...
Organic
kind of lines and stuff.
Yeah. And often where I come from with the work is taking an element of the space and then working with that. So the beams were an attractor, so I decided I'd make a beam that would sit under one of the beams, but I'd shift its territory, not geographic territory, but I covered it with kapok. And so it was an inverted beam directly under the beam. So I guess what I do by doing that, and a lot of it's just plainly a response rather than thinking this is my conceptual intent, that it was my conceptual. I think sometimes when you shift the gear on something, which is not what the original was, or not trying to mimic it in any way directly, but it's a way of seeing what is actually there. So things that are idiosyncrasies in a building are often the things that are attractive to me, and you notice them, you don't notice them, but I like work that then allows that space to be seen in its own right.
Yeah, 100%.
And so I guess the curved edges is probably what, and it's a soft form, and maybe that was what triggered me to do these other soft forms. There were some...
but there's hard edges there too, as well, you know.
Oh, yes, there's that is very much. Well, that in response to the industrial...
contrast that makes it work for me.
Yes, well, I like that slippage. And what was happening outside the window was a construction site of the new metro site, just immediately outside and below.
Wow.
So there's the inside and the architecture. And what I like to do is have something in a space that where you start to maybe not consciously but physically engage with the space.
Yep.
So I've got these squishy kind of vertical, they're actually cushions originally, but you wouldn't recognise them as that form now, but they're quite squishy and they're covered in latex. And I've located them at waist height, which is waist height probably for a majority of people, so that you are encountering this form almost as a hug, but very much frontal.
Yeah, it's very much about relationships.
Relationship to body.
And the
100%.
relationship to the body, relationship to the materials, relationship to the experience.
This latex I was hoping would make it like materially approximate flesh, or reference to flesh, not approximate, but a reference to flesh and soft bodily forms.
And, okay, now just to go on the other side of the coin with this, tell us more about what place the flags took.
Okay, so the beginning...
And colouring. Your colouring's very, like there seems about a palette of about 3 or 4 colours, really.
Not many, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't deliberately choose to have a limited palette, but I think it kind of worked to allow that slippage between industrial and flesh and body. Yeah. So the organic so I like it to be not one or the other, but to allow you to slide between them and create that sense of ambiguity within the objects, as within the space. So when I was sitting there chatting away before the idea of this, I looked out the window. Well, what caught my eye was a crane basket just travelling across the sky above the tall buildings, and it was a deep blue sky. So this mesmerising movement across the windows, which I then had to just quickly video. I had to leap up out of the conversation. It was so caught my eye. And then,
it was like a solo kind of image travelling in space almost.
It was like
you were looking through a window.
Moving.
Yeah, moving in space, but also you framed it through a window.
Yeah, I had to go closer to the window, and I saw it where it was, what was happening. It was a crane was moving it across, and then the crane descended gradually, and there was a red flag blowing that had the number 93 on it. What that referred to at the time, I had no idea.
No, I was just thinking that. What was the 93? Because normally they just have the red flag, don't they?
Yeah, but I found out. I did find out. But what was lovely too is this basket and the red flag slowly descended from the sky down into the ground. A big hole where there were the construction workers, and there was a lot of clang and clatter and all the things you might expect from such an activity. And so this little video I edited together, and it became sat right next to the window where you would look out.
Wow.
And that sound then pervades the space as well.
I hope we get a snippet of the video.
I sent you the video, but I think, I better send you the video. So that would have arrived later. So that's an ever-present part of the work. And the red flags, I could have put the 93 on those flags, but I thought in the end, just the plain red flags did it for me.
Yeah, and they're crossed.
They're crossed Why did I do that? I'm not sure why I did that. I found when, again, maybe I was thinking about the show, I found in Bunnings some black brooms, and they were very beautiful. They had a sliver of red around the outside and black in the middle with black handles. And I thought, they look pretty interesting. I'm going to hold on to that. I'm going to And so that...
The things you find around you as an artist, right? And sometimes you don't know what it's for or what you're going to do with it.
But you know.
Interesting, yeah.
So I think that they were part of the construction thinking, you know, with this activity going on below, as were the flags. And I can't think why I did them in that constellation. And then I had 2 stainless steel open-ended boxes that you could actually see right through. That, so it was a pair and a pair of items that to me had a fluidity. The flags certainly had a fluidity about them. So relating to the site, but relating to the site, but also bringing you inside as well.
Yeah, no, you've successfully done all of what you set out to do, 100%.
It feels like there's a conversation between the pieces as well.
Yeah,
without them, I don't know, crossing over, crowding one another. I don't know.
That was really important to me.
There's nice contrast there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I see the piece as a single piece, really, a single installation. So I didn't name anyone individually. I just, or even indicate what the materials were, because often the materials then flowed from one to the other. You know, the epoch. Also, I appeared in these strange bottles that had ooze coming out from underneath. Mm-hmm. So I dyed that K-POC, which made it look quite different, but it is still a derivation of the same material as cream. And then I had a big, huge square, maybe 2.4 metres by 2 metres high, square of black felt that I found on the footpath. And I thought, oh, I like that. And
on the footpath?
Yes.
No less. Wow.
I don't know, that was a lucky find.
Yeah.
I did ask the shop owners, is that belong to you? Can I have it? And that didn't belong to them, so I took it. It looked abandoned and it was perfect. So to me, that was relating to the black hole of the construction site below, as well as providing a formal element.
To the depths of
the going down. Because it really was about like going down in a window.
And probably if it's a bit of a manhole, there was probably a few bodies that kept just disappearing down there before the bucket came along. Before the bathroom came along.
Yeah.
This is just my imagination running away.
But it's funny that Kelli has said that it's some imagination for you, because that piece particularly triggered things for me, which were quite beautiful memories.
Which one? The black piece, the black felt?
Yes. Yeah, the piece I thought you were describing, where it's there's kind of red material. It's almost like some sort of vials, and then it looks like it's dripping. That piece.
Oh yes,
yes. For some reason, that one really triggered things for me.
Oh, how interesting!
And it even triggered some childhood memory.
Okay, come on.
So I bought this because it reminded me of tree sap and blood and that's what, like Kelly's saying about your work being somehow anthropomorphic, in that it is like you're animating inanimate materials, you know.
But you have a visceral experience to it, a physical body experience to it. Yeah.
Yeah, but the anthropomorphic is more that it's using that material to represent animals,
organic
creatures,
things,
human and animal, basically. So I bought this little piece, Sue. I absolutely love tree sap because it has this very early memory of being on a farm. We were, it's a family story. We had a car accident, actually.
Oh.
It was the caravan tipped. So, okay.
It's a bit bigger than a car.
My family was okay.
Yeah.
Still, the caravan tipped, and I was probably about 5.
Mm-hmm.
And we were 6, and we stayed on a farm for 3 months while my parents set up house in the city, basically. Anyway, I just remember when spending all that time on the farm and just seeing this tree sap gathering and using that as glue, and and all the insects and like ants. I just have all these beautiful memories of the fascination of discovering tree sap. And so this one is the sap from the Xanthorrhoea plant. Oh. And there are quite a few artists that use this for dyes, and there's lots of textile artists as well.
Yeah, I
had to bring this in, Sue.
Lovely.
It reminded me of the
I want a
tree
closer
sap.
view of it next time.
Well, we'll try and...
It's slightly...
Can we... No, when she put it on the table, I don't know whether you can...
And it's very blood-like as well.
Oh, maybe that's what I was looking for but didn't find.
Well, you know what was interesting? She put it on the table.
It was used as a glue. The Aboriginal, Aboriginal people used as a glue, basically. And that's what we did as kids.
And I had no idea she put it there. And about a week ago, we made some chocolate balls.
Yes.
Nothing like
it looked identical to that. Did we have one chocolate ball there from last week? And I picked it up and she said, there's a story attached to that.
And the reason, just reading your background and looking at that exhibition and I'm being inspired, I just felt there's this playfulness, and I really feel there's an immediacy in your work, even though there's a stillness about it as well. There's this liveliness.
Contrast. It's married to contrast.
Oh, I'm with that.
Yeah, because I'm quite familiar with working with industrial things and industrial spaces and things, and so it surprised me, which was nice. Yeah.
That's nice, yes. I had the idea of the crane, but I didn't make the crane. I don't have that skill set. So my son-in-law made it for me, and I was just delighted. And the hook. Another friend who lives in Melbourne, she had this hook outside her window and she said, oh, do you want that hook? And I thought, and I thought it was huge, but actually when he went and got it, it was just the perfect size.
Oh, it's perfect. Excellent. Wonderful.
So I like how it in one way frames it's not black felt, it's like a dark charcoal, but when it's moving, it inscribes the felt because it travels in that gap between the crane-like structure and the square of felt. And then it gets to the end, which is about 2.8 metres, and there's a pause. It makes a noise. There's a silence. And then it makes another noise as it goes down. So I really
which is
like
fantastic.
It has got its own inbuilt sonic features.
Yeah. Sound installation, organically, really.
So yes, happy happenstance, really, which is fortuitous.
Aren't they the best ones? I love that. When you
a nice discovery,
experiment in a space, and sometimes it can be a mistake or an accident that happens, and you go, "I know, that's cool."
I like that. Yeah,
it's good.
And the speed of that was really important too. So we did together. We did a bit of testing out of the speed. So somehow the slowness of that was important.
Well, because you also don't expect something so monumental in a way and hard. Well, you assume it's hard.
It's hard.
And also take a slowness and a softness about it.
Yeah.
Because even when that hook, if it's moving really slowly, I haven't seen the whole video yet, but I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, same.
But I imagine it almost has a feeling visually that the actual heavy hook is both hard and soft at the same time.
Somehow, yes.
It's moving between that space, like you were saying, and then it sort of goes clunk, clunk, does its little sound. But if you've got that space between the felt and the hook, that's like talking to each other, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is. That's what I wanted.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. There's a responsiveness. Your response to your ideas and materials,
the materials
somehow has extracted a response from the viewer.
Well, that's very nice because you can never anticipate. You might hope for it, but you can never really anticipate what someone's going to.
No, and I quite like that. I love to hear. I remember one work even years later, people would come up and give me their interpretation.
Yeah.
And I would be delighted because it would be so opposite to what my intention was. But my intention, I realised, that was the moment that I realised, oh, it's a bit like Death of the Author stuff. You know, like it takes on its own life with every viewer, doesn't it? And
Yes,
that's what
yes.
more than that.
And who would have thought that piece would bring me back to watching the sap of the tree?
Yes.
Memories
see what it made me. It just took me back into that.
I love that.
Fascination with this tree sap. It was.
So was it the item with the hook that did that, or the item with the bottles and the...
No, the bottles, the
oozing in the bottle.
The feeling of something oozing out of, but it just had a natural...
I feel like she needs to fess up. She is a mad gardener, Geraldine.
No, I love nature.
Yeah, and you love nature. She hugs trees. I have not yet hugged a tree, but I said I've promised at some point I will.
Sue, have you hugged a tree?
Do I have trees?
No, have you hugged a tree?
Do I hug the tree?
Hug the tree. Have you hugged the
tree?
I don't, well, I don't to be honest. I have a very beautiful tree in my backyard.
Yeah.
It's a princess tree, I call it. That's not what it is, but it's really like it crowns the yard and it sort of leans over the fence, and I reckon it crowns the street at that point.
Yeah, it sounds beautiful.
I love it.
Well, we take Gizzy to the park every day, and I was meant to hug a tree, and they were meant to film it, and we were meant to post it because that's what we promised everyone. But it's a bit difficult to get off the bike, you know, my little Harley and everything. I thought, I don't know why I've never hugged a tree. I've never felt a need to hug a tree. But I felt like...
Everyone should do it at least once in their life.
That's what Geraldine tells me. But I thought, we've got this magnificent tree that must be 150 years old at the park, maybe older, I don't know. But you feel, for me, I'm like, but sitting under the tree, I get the same experience. I hope the tree has the same experience.
Oh, yes.
I definitely get whatever that hug would give. But Geraldine had told a story on a podcast how she hugged her neighbour's tree daily because it was dying and it came back to life.
Oh, magic.
It was one of those fir trees, so it just needed a little bit of shaking up.
Yes,
I wasn't doing the full hug, it was a shaking.
A shaking. Well, maybe it needed...
I'm trying to give a reference to why the sap and why that piece of yours in the exhibition, you know, it triggered her and memories and affected her. So these are the things that we as artists don't necessarily always see or hear about, isn't it? You know, because often we don't meet, unlike other kind of art forms where, you know, they might meet the people who've just experienced their work in whatever that shape or form that might be, like Erica's stories. She has far more connection with her viewer or her audience, right? Because they're there.
Yeah, yes.
While she's performing, and so it becomes a collaborative space immediately between viewer and performer, but or artist. Whereas for us, we set up in privacy often, and then we leave the space, and we don't always get to talk to people and what they're... I do love it when people can give you stories. You know, if you do bump into someone and gives you stories, not just family and friends, people outside the circle.
Absolutely. I think it's such a critical part. You don't always get it, and I suspect most artists hunger for that.
Oh, 100%.
And in a way, that's why we set up Articulate too, so that you have that chance to be near other artists. You have that chance to talk to people while they're making work. And, you know, I remember at art school, what was so exciting was not the finished work. It was seeing the work that finished, but seeing it in relation to the whole story, the whole build-up.
The whole experience.
That's what makes... It's so exciting because it's the thinking, it's the observation of the shift in how it evolves. I love that.
Yeah, that's what really this is all about here. What we're doing here today is to have the conversation more with mainstream and viewers that maybe are already, you know, artified, as I like to call it. But, you know, and hopefully they will then engage. It's really important, I think, for any artist moving forward now in this time on the planet, with all of the stuff going on, the crazy stuff going on. I think it's the more we can engage with our communities
and have the long conversation.
and have the long conversation. That is super, super important. Just I'm going to go all out here and say, for humanity, we have to make a return to being community, and look to your communities, be engaged in your communities, whatever that may be for you. And for us, of course, that's the creative space. And if we can share that creative space with other people and have, I love nothing more than to have conversations around art, particularly the type of art that you and I do, because a lot of mainstream don't understand it or don't know what it's about. I love to engage with them and say, what do you see when you look at it?
Yeah, feel alienated.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I've always been a great supporter of, we've got to have the conversation with mainstream. We can't stay in this little ecosystem that we've created for ourselves over the last 40 years. It's time to come out and play. Even for young emerging artists, I see them engage in. It gives them options. The traditional option for us was, or what was accepted and respected was, well, if you're a practicing artist, you should also be teaching because that's how you pay your bills. Yeah. It was the only acceptable avenue. And of course, everybody was a bit shocked when I said, well, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do festivals instead. So what interested me about festivals was I got to talk to, I always want to know what's happening on the ground level. No one's going to save the arts anymore. The governments are not interested anymore. They want entertainment. And that's fine. You do entertainment. That doesn't mean that we stop making art. It means we pivot. And this is a good opportunity to pivot in this format. I've engaged with a couple of younger emerging artists. Now, they just moved straight from art school into having a YouTube channel and having great ideas. And these are all the new platforms where you don't lose the creativity, maybe. You're just pivoting. I think that for the younger community coming through now, they already have an organic understanding, but also those who do not. It's a great possibility. I think there's empowerment in becoming self-funded.
It's interesting that they're finding ways of doing it through art, because I know when I went to art school and in the interview they said, you're not going to make a living from this. And I thought, that's okay. I can still teach. I'll fund myself through. At that stage, I was teaching community welfare still and did for many years onwards, part-time. And I think that took, especially doing sculptural installations, it takes that pressure off having to make money from the work, which I know you're talking about something slightly sideways, but it means that you're not gauged by how many works you sell. And I think that's it's a bit of a death knell as far as I see, because people can easily feel, well, that was a good show or a bad show according to how much I sell. And I think, well, is that the measure of success?
No, it is not.
And it's friends and families buying those works. So I think, what they're doing is a lovely way of keeping it in an art form, but expanding.
They're not selling out. I can see, as I said, in the early days, it used to be only acceptable for, a sideline to earn money to pay the bills that artists had was, to teach. And now there's a whole I think there's a whole area for the young artists coming through that just those two artists I was speaking about. And they haven't lost, artistic authenticity. They haven't, they haven't traded that, and that's really important. But by having that independence and also being autonomous within it, because they're not working for someone else, they're working for themselves.
And your own time frame.
Exactly.
Right time frame.
Exactly. But it's about claiming back the power. We need to claim back power and be empowered. And like you, I made a decision from the early days. I was never going to sell my work. I wanted it to be ephemeral. I wanted to do them, take materials and make them into something else, or just let them dissipate into the environment, whatever. But the purpose of that, even with the documentation, was because everyone said, you can sell it. And I said, no, I don't want to. Until artists make the money direct to themselves, I'm not going to be part of a system where the artist gets paid $400 for that painting and 10 years later it's sold at Sotheby's for, $2 million. because no artist makes money out of their art. They still have to teach, even those who are successful and have sell-out exhibitions.
Yeah.
We're trying to address that now.
Yeah, the only way I think truly you can address it, just coming from a world of private enterprise, is we have to take back our power, and we have to find a way to create income other than teaching.
Yeah.
Right? Not that there's anything wrong with teaching, of course not, but
No.
you've got to have choices, because not every artist is suited to teaching.
That's right.
Either.
No.
So when you see these new platforms happening, I'm excited about that for emerging artists, as a way of empowering themselves and not and that keeps the space clean, because they're not being performative.
Yeah.
So, that's good. You comfy there? Are you comfortable there, Sue?
Are we talking?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, but no, because I put the volume down to stop the pings.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's real life. What can I say?
Right.
This is what happens in real life.
Oh,
So
we talking again?
Yeah, we are.
I just
Can
thought
you tell me a little bit about Stephen McLaughlin Gallery and how long the exhibition is on, and where people can find it?
Yes.
And I'll eat some pasty while you explain.
You're making me jealous.
Sorry.
As I said before, it's in an old deco building, which has just had its 100th birthday, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was fun. And it's directly opposite St Paul's Cathedral on Swanston Street, which is a main thoroughfare through the CBD, the City of Melbourne, and very close to Flinders Street Station. So entrances, it's officially in this place called the Cathedral Arcade. Beautiful. It's got these stained glass domed entrance, or domed, like a barrel ceiling with stained glass, really lovely. And then it also opens onto Little Flinders Lane, which is quite different to Swanston Street, where you have lots of tourists and trams and foot traffic. It's wonderful. I had my friend who was studying with me at the RMIT, and she was wonderful. She was helping me every day. So we'd start with a coffee in the morning. We'd go somewhere else down Little Flinders Lane to have a coffee and then lunch, and then maybe we'd go to Brunetti's and have a coffee and a biscotti at the end of the day. Totally spoiled.
Love it.
Yeah.
But so it's a delightful building, and the architect was who's created a number of buildings around the city, including the Mallorca building nearby. So it's really lovely in the sense, and what I love about it, apart from those curved beams and all these details, little beautiful details, is that it hasn't been revamped.
Oh, nice.
You go these corridors and they've got the really old tiles, and in sections they've just fallen off. And haven't tried to renovate or replace them. And I think
Perfect.
There's something very calming about that nothing's been rejigged.
Yeah.
And what it is, and it really gives you that sense of its life and history. And it's full of little creative businesses. And so it's got, even though you don't always see people, it's got that ambience about it.
Yeah.
Now,
Perfect for your work.
Yeah, and Geraldine was curious to know the name of the gallery. Who is that?
Oh, yes, it's Stephen McLaughlin Gallery. So Stephen initiated it, and he's been running it, can you believe it, for 32 years.
That's amazing.
So that's a very long time. And so I don't know that it's so much... I've been at the different times I've been in, there have been more painting, sometimes small objects. I haven't seen particularly installations, although my friend Heidi did something of an installation there. Maybe there are more installations. It's got quite a reputation. I think a lot of academics it's not a commercial space, it's a space where you will expect to see quality art, where you can have that conceptual framework as well.
Nice.
That's incredible. 32 years for a gallery is incredible.
Stephen is a fountain of...
Well, I wonder what's happening in New South Wales as far as...
Yeah, like arts defunding.
Culture as far as government.
Yeah, grants have become fewer and fewer, actually. I think it's certainly not prioritised. So people are it's probably more leaning towards performance, if anything, and like enlivening city.
Because they can see the entertainment value in that.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
And that's what they're happy to fund these days.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. Can I interrupt for half a second?
Yeah.
I can see that I've got a low battery in my charger's upstairs.
Oh,
So I might dash off and get that before we cut out.
yeah, no, go for your life.
It's interesting because I've just moved near an artwork and I thought, it's got all these gold, I'll show you. Try and point it to it. It's got all these gold bowls.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And one there's fine red clay dirt and on the other there's a bow, like a performance.
Is that like a reference to singing bowls or something?
I'm curious. I'm going to come on Sunday to the artist talks and I'll find out.
Right.
Yeah, then you can fill us in as well.
I mean, they do have
It
a
looks
room
like a good
sheet.
spot sitting on the floor. I like that.
Yeah, oh yes. One of the things we encourage is for things not to be on plinths.
Yeah, nice.
All right. Okay.
Sometimes there are for various reasons. We try and encourage people to do things. Sometimes they're right, it makes sense. It's not that we're completely religious about it. But,
I know we've got some notes there on Articulate, but how did that all happen for you? Like, how did you get involved with all of that?
well, that's when I came back to Sydney after living in Melbourne for 3 years and doing the Masters in Art and Public Space. And then, art and public space. And then when I came back, I really wanted to reconnect with people here because it had been a while since I had. And so I knew some other artists who were looking for studio spaces as well. We went off hunting for quite a while, 6 months, and then we gave up. It was too hard. All of a sudden, this building... one of the agents, said to me, there's this building. You interested in this building, or should we take the list? And I went with Suzanne at that point. We got that call. We said, let's go and have a look. It's school.
It's a bit like Lois and I, that's how we met, was at art school.
It's got a few things going for it.
Yeah. So,
sorry to interrupt.
I know that's a great little area.
Sorry to interrupt, but this is absolutely amazing, isn't it?
Tell Sue.
I'll send.
Things are burning.
I know.
Are dust stinging.
Well, the part of the potty is that we actually post the recipes about 3 days before. It's mostly through actually a lot of the Facebook followers. We always post the episode to there, and that seems to be the people who engage in the recipes. Yeah, Substack's all about the writing and about the podcast and watching the long play. It's a really clean, wonderful space, Substack.
Yeah.
YouTube, I guess that we've been lucky because it's a hard road. Whereas a lot of our people, if you like, have come from LinkedIn and Facebook, which is an extension of Nine Dragons Head, really. Most of the artists have come through artists who know artists who know artists who know artists.
Yeah.
And across the different genres. And then Substack feels like home. And some of those cook this, but mostly it seems to be the Facebook people that, or the Instagram people that cook. This is usually a cheesecake you just eat on its own, but by putting the fresh strawberries with it and the raspberry coulis, it's good. Yeah, it's something. Yeah, it's like a whole nother level.
I believe you.
I know. I had a restaurant, so what can I say? I have a passion for food as I do art.
Oh my gosh.
Going back to, because one of the questions I was going to ask you, what made you decide, I'm interested in this, even for myself, what made you decide to go and do your Masters, and what did it come from a space of first wanting to have a say, like you had something to say? How did it evolve? How did you end up doing that?
Well,
Because not many artists do.
no. I was living in England for 8 months, and sorry about all these pings. I could get my phone and turn off.
You're very popular.
Don't worry about it, love.
Okay,
It's all right.
forget it.
Yeah.
And
Become part of the landscape.
yes, I'm afraid so at this moment. And I looked at quite a few art trails there, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. They're very competent works. And I I was in a situation where I didn't want to go back to Sydney. I wanted to go somewhere else, and I was trying to avoid a particular relationship, actually. But
okay, do tell.
We won't
do tell.
However, and so my brother said, "Why? I've seen advertised this course, and the Masters in Art and Public Space. It was a new course, and I just thought, why would I want to go there?" But then I went to Melbourne, the tennis was on, I didn't realise how wonderful Melbourne was in this, all these beautiful Victorian buildings, and I thought, I'm going to give this a go. So I was allowing that, because it was new and I guess the course was, untested and untried, I was allowing that, maybe it's not going to work, maybe I'm going to be home in 6 months or something like that. But
so it took the pressure off yourself.
Well, Melbourne was just so stimulating, and I really enjoyed the course. I had these really great interactions with the tutors, and we were in a place called, I had a studio space. We were given a studio space called Harley Heaven, where the master's students were or honours students were offered that in the middle of the city. It was wonderful, and where we studied was right in the centre of the city. And so you're very much in the hub there, and amongst all the laneways, and they had a very interesting program going at the time called the Bridge Program, which was largely artist run. It was international, with people coming from everywhere, but doing works in very interesting spaces through the city and out at Footscray. It was just an incredibly stimulating time. And then I can't remember what year it was, but Melbourne had its first Biennale. It took place often in these buildings that were about to be renovated, so they were pretty often empty, a bit, unkempt, a bit stripped back. It really allowed people, it relayed a whole, they weren't neat and clean, they were white cube by any means. And because they were scattered through the city, you had to find these different buildings. So it was a discovery tour, and then the work, because of those buildings, took on a whole other edge and ambience. It took them very much out of the museum. I just loved it. So it was so stimulating that by Easter time, I was physically hurting with overstimulation.
That happens.
Jumping out of your skin.
I'm like that with New York City. I get to the point where about the second or third week I'm going, I need some alone time.
And it was, the course itself was really stimulating, and I guess that opportunity to, I thought, I'm going to do all the work in a laneway, and found some money to do that. And I had opportunities, a lot of opportunities there. And also I went looking for them, but they were there. And I found Melbourne, and I suspect it's still the same, that people are very collaborative there. People are...
Yeah, that's what I loved about it the most.
Yeah. And I guess it's partly you study and you meet these people, but they weren't just those people, we...
No, I wasn't in the arts when I was there. I had the restaurant sub club, but we were a place that kind of attracted creatives and artistic people. So a lot of the musical theatre people and theatre people would come for supper.
Yeah.
Like not just the people who went to the theatre, but the people in the theatre, all the actors and producers and things. That was regular.
Yes.
And, there was always something happening outside of their own little ecosystems, and they'd be talking about this and that. Let's go do this, or let's go do that, or, there was particularly, that was my first kind of introduction to the gay community in a big way of interacting and getting to know, and because we didn't really have much of that in Perth. It wasn't that visible as what it was when I first went to Melbourne.
Yeah. I have to say, I had one of the great examples of the collaboration was I had an idea to do a work on the trams, across a number of trams. Yeah, about 10 trams. And so it was a work which there was orange text along the windows, and it was in snatches as though it was part of a story, like a bit of in the manner of a detective story where you might spot things on your journey and who is this person and what they were doing. And I didn't ask that directly, but it implied that. Anyway, I can't remember how it all came about, but I'd more or less left Melbourne at that point and I'd got the grant. So in the meantime, a friend of mine who was a graphic designer, she was really helping I wanted to do it on the green trams because they were being faded out for the new Yarra trams, a French company. And I loved the green trams. But it was a very interesting time because people were very wary. When I'd first arrived, they'd just got rid of the conductors. Anyway, this friend managed to persuade Yarra Trams to let me have the 10 trams to put work on, which was a very big, important bit of negotiating by her because those trams are worth money for advertising, and it wasn't that. So it was nice because it sat in that space between art and advertising deliberately. But what was also nice, somehow, and I can hardly remember how, we got involved, the singing conductors, and one of them, Roberto, he helped negotiate with the tram people who schedule the trams, and he helped work with them and allow them, people to go in there to put the text on the trams. And he also, for the opening, invited one of his mates they dressed up in their conductor uniform. And it was very funny because on the trams at that point, people resented this new trams. It was new silver trams, people in grey uniforms, and those poor new conductors, nobody wanted to know them, and they'd give out brochures and try and be friendly, and people would just look out the window. However, when Roberto, for this launch of this project, he turned up in his old uniform and his pouch with his ticket punch, and people just swarmed upon him.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Was he the singing
conductor? It was just lovely. So he was involved with his singing conductor mate, and also some other actresses came on board, and they were. It was at the time of the Writers' Festival, which is Melbourne University, so at the end of this route, where the trams were going. And they got the bits of text and pretended they were trying to piece them all together, and people on the tram helped them because it was all in a flurry and the papers had gone everywhere, and it was quite a wonderful interactive piece.
I can imagine how much went on behind the scenes to get that actually off the platform.
Because they were very busy establishing their new brand. So anything that was related to the old brand was a bit on the nose for them. If they can do that in such a way that it's not just, as you're saying before, entertainment.
You mentioned your husband a few times. I know you've got a daughter, but then you said, I was running away from a relationship earlier, and I'm like, what is your history there?
Maybe that's a big story for another time. So the not wanting to come back to Sydney was because of another relationship that I really did not want to be around and who was not quite willing to let go of it. I married quite young and we went travelling a lot, and then that was 20s and early 30s. So I never got married again.
But I'm just wondering, or we often ask, what in our theme of Beyond Survival, what keeps you grounded? What do you think takes you beyond just surviving?
Well, I think it's the making of art is a critical thing. It's like that absorption in an idea and realising it, and also particularly having somewhere for it to go into a public realm. That's really a critical part of it. And then also the conversation around that and with other artists and around their work. I really, that's really important to me. But, I've got various non-artist friends and gathered from different sources, and we do, well, haven't really done yoga, but we do yoga at my place twice a week. I love the place where I live because it's, a country town, everyone knows you. And it can be very, incestuous, or people know too much, or they imagine too much, or you're always feel like you're under the surveillance camera. But I live in a place now where there is community because it's on a peninsula, but you can still be a bit anonymous, so it's not that thing where you have to find your reputation or your P's and Q's, and I really enjoy that. So there are a lot of
You can do both, community and isolation.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people that you see and that you get familiar with, and because they're around and about. And I really love that. These are not people that are my friends, but they're people that I have conversations with, and
Nice.
I really enjoy that.
It's like me getting out on my scooter, and because I like to go and talk to neighbours that I don't otherwise see.
I'm looking at an 84-year-old who's a role model. I think, wow, I want to be like that. It's been really nice, actually. I didn't actually show you my studio, but as I say, there's not any artwork. It's just storage facility. Stuff and materials.
Piece went into the Luna Cinema and it stayed up for 2 weeks, and then there was complaints on Facebook, and he pushed back and said, no, we're not taking it out. We support all art, but it's all in there. But it did what it was meant to do. Yeah. So that was good. I suspect it's in his office somewhere now or at home.
And I did a little piece that I put on the steps. It wasn't on the steps of the war memorial because you can't put anything on the steps of the wall. I had put that on a step that was in the section leading up towards the memorial. But and it was a little tent, and like a refugee type tent. And but that was gone by the next day. Well, I don't know what happened to it.
Oh.
So we always exit. We say to people,
Laugh.
our viewers,
laugh until your belly just hurts.
flow.
Yeah, love ferociously is our favourite.
Love.
Yep, love ferociously.
What's the other one?
And then finally just freaking breathe.
Just
do a nice big deep breath every day. Part of that yoga. You do yoga, so
Breathe out more than you breathe in.
Through these strange times that we're living, they're our three little sort of mantras.
Right, very
laugh, love,
well, and perfect.
Yes.
Yep.
So enjoy.
That's our version of the
Thank you for having me part of your circle.
Yeah, that's
it was
good.
honoured, and it was perfect timing because of your exhibition.
Yes. No, it's been really nice to have it and be able to see it through your lens.
Yeah, well, wait till the article comes
we
out.
Look forward to
I'll send you a few more pics and a video.
Okay, brilliant.
Okay, is this farewell then? Until next time. Lovely.
Okay.
Bye. Bye.